I used to coach clients 30 hours a week while I was also having to attend class more than 30 hours a week. And how I combined all of that is not a pretty story, but it is a good story that might help you figure out how you can deal with building your business while you are busy. In this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the exact steps I took to build my business while I was still studying at university, and I'm gonna teach you one trick that you can use right now to stay focused on your real priorities. Hello, and welcome to the Fast Forward Amy Show, the show where we lift your life and business with simple strategies. I'm Fast Forward Amy, your host and coach, and I'll bring you a new episode every Tuesday. Once upon a time, I was a fitness coach starting out, running her own business, and I was also a full-time student. And I tend to touch on this subject, but I don't often talk about it because for me, obviously, it's been a long time ago. But a while ago, I got some questions about it on my stories, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to record an episode about this that is really going to look at the practical things I used to do to get by as a student who had more than 30 hours of class a week, but who was also working more than 30 hours a week. It seems like magic because that would mean I was working more than 60 hours a week in total if we combine the studying and the work. And that is aside from the fact that I also needed to study and not just attend class, and also needed to prep for my clients and follow up and admin and all of that stuff. Just like on top of those 60 hours. Now, I want to preface this by saying that that time period cost me a lot and it gave me a lot, because I'm not gonna lie, because sometimes when people ask me this, like, how do you do it as a student? I had a lot of class. I was doing actually a difficult degree as well. I studied business engineering. I ended up getting a master's degree in that. I won't lie, I also have a high IQ. Like, I can process information fairly quickly and learn fast. I'm not gonna lie about that. But what I wanna say there is that a lot of people think, oh, it's because you're smart that you're good at that stuff, but there have been numerous studies about the fact that your IQ and your success in entrepreneurship have nothing to do with each other. So don't use that as something that you're gonna like stare at, that you feel like maybe you're not smart enough to become a good entrepreneur, because it has nothing to do with each other. There is no correlation or causation between your success as an entrepreneur and the level of your intelligence. By the way, what is intelligence? Like, is it being good at learning something from a theoretical book? Is it having street smarts? I don't know, I don't care, but I would be lying if I said that it did come in handy for me to get through school. Not as much for my entrepreneurship journey though. So I'm gonna walk through some anecdotes from when I was studying and working, because I think it might help some people who are currently studying and who want to build their own business. Now, obviously, there is a really big difference between are you getting supported by your parents or not financially in this time? Do you live with your parents or not? In Belgium, for example, either people live at home or they tend to go to like a small studio. It's called a kot in Belgium. I don't know what like a dorm, basically, is what it's called in English, I think. For me, that was not the case. I started out living at home with my parents. Then a bunch of things happened that I'm not going to go into in this episode. But if we just fast forward a bit later, when I was studying for my master's degree, I was working full-time, supporting myself through everything financially, and also studying full-time to get my master's degree. Have to preface this by saying, if I'm being honest, I didn't want to get my master's degree. I also wasn't planning on getting my master's degree because by the time I had hit the third year of my bachelor's degree, I thought university is stupid. All my professors suck. I think in total throughout my university career, I had about 60 professors, and I think maybe 4 of them were good. So I'm not a big fan of the classical way of teaching in Belgium, but there is one big advantage to going to school in Belgium, in my opinion. Feel free to hate me when I'm talking about this, is that it's really cheap. So what happened is I didn't want to get my master's degree. I had also already said I wasn't going to do it. I was just going to focus on my business full time because I was already doing well as a fitness coach. By that point, I had a bunch of clients. And what happened is I found out that fiscally it was better for me to enroll in school and to do my business as a side hustle than to go in my business full time. So it ended up saving me about 2,600 euros if I signed up for school. And at the time, that was a lot of money for me. That was more money than I had. So I decided to take that route, and I was like, you know what? I just won't take my exams, but I'll be registered at school and I'll lose some credits. But I'll do that because then I have more, like it's going to just be physically easier for me to become an entrepreneur. What happened is funny. I had exams in January, which I didn't plan on taking, but all of a sudden I was enrolled in group assignments. And of course, that was just automatically done, so I didn't want to let down the group. So I started doing the group assignments for those courses. And then I ended up deciding, like, you know what, I'll just take the exams because I'm enrolled anyways. So very weirdly, I ended up taking my exams. And at that point, I kind of made this decision for myself, like, school isn't my priority, but it might at some point be my buffer, because what if this all doesn't work out, I can't succeed at running my own business, at least I'll have my degree and I can find a decent job somewhere. So I kind of decided, like, school is not my main priority, my business is my main priority, school is gonna come in second, and I'll try what I can. So I used that mindset to create a very clear vision on what comes first. So I was always putting my business first until a certain point, like when exams hit, I would be like, okay, so I don't know, 2 weeks before my exams or a week before my exams, I would put a hard deadline. I would talk about this with my clients, like, from then until then, I cannot coach you. If I had a lot of time in between exams, I would see the clients I'd see on a regular basis on one day, for example. I'd be like, okay, you all need to come on that one day. So I was batching my day. So I really batched my very intense exam periods, and everything else was just basically me putting out fires all the time. I was wildly stressed out. Nothing was fun anymore. I will admit to that, but I feel like when people ask me, how do you combine it? I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, because it was literally just basically doing 2 full-time jobs. But there are a few things I did to make it easier, and I wanna share those with you. By the way, if you're struggling with your time right now and you're feeling like you just can't juggle it, maybe you have kids and you're trying to run your business, maybe you're working full-time but you want to start your own thing, maybe you are running 2 businesses, maybe you're getting started in your business or are further ahead and are just having trouble getting clarity on your priorities, I created a workbook for you. I've noticed the workbooks are a big success with our audience. It's kind of like a time management, planning, productivity workbook where we will brainstorm, I outline your ideal week and all of that stuff, and you can print it out. It's really fun. You can go and grab it through fastforwardamy.com/time workbook, or simply click the link in the description. I'll repeat it at the end of this episode. And if you didn't know yet, when you're listening to one of my episodes, you always see the number on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever. And if you go to fastforwardamy.com/number of the episode, you will find the article with all of the links and a recap of everything I'm mentioning. Okay, so what did I do? One of the first things I did when I started realizing, like, okay, school isn't my priority, my business is my priority, because obviously I need to make money and I want to have happy clients, I decided to pay my fellow students for their notes. So a lot of people at the end of a semester, they'll be like, oh, can I get your notes or whatever? And, you know, the good students would always feel forced into giving someone their notes, and like no money was exchanged. There was a shop near the university where you could buy notes, actually. So for each course in university, there tended to be one good manual that was created by a student of their notes. So that was done, like you would go there and buy something for €5, €10, whatever. But just asking fellow students for notes was not done, because it had a sense of disrespect. And I always wanted to be respectful. So I talked to a couple of fellow students and I was like, okay, so I have to work. Also, my university didn't allow for me to get the actual, I don't know what to call it, but I couldn't say like I'm a working student. I just had to be in class, but I ended up just not going to class. There was no other way for me to get through it all than getting to class, because you needed the notes and there wasn't a way to follow it digitally or whatever. So I talked to the really good students who made really good notes. I'm like, you know what? So I need to work because I'm also supporting myself financially in all of this. What would you be willing to give me these notes in exchange for a payment, as I am working at the time that you're taking the notes? And what would you want? And when you're a student, budgets are different. For me, money was a different story than my fellow students, because I was already, working just to get by and everything. So I ended up getting a couple of deals of like paying 50 euros for notes of a 2-hour class that would take a semester. So I decided, for example, on Thursday mornings, I would see 3 clients and I would make like, let's say 150 euros. And for that semester, that Thursday morning class cost me 50 euros. So I literally just made a rational decision, although I knew I might fail the exam because the notes wouldn't be enough to get me through it, because although I'm smart, I'm not Superwoman. But I did attend a lot of exams where I sat in class and I thought, no, when I sat at the exam, I'm like, oh, this is the professor for this exam. So I really had to let a lot of my perfectionism go, because you need to know that a few years before that, I was the type of person who really wanted to ace every single exam, who wanted to have the perfect notes, who attended every single class. But I shifted because my priorities shifted. I made the decision, I don't have to get 18 out of 20 on an exam. I only need to get a 10 out of 22 pass. I didn't want a degree with like cum laude or whatever. I just wanted the degree because I figured if I ever use this degree to go and work somewhere, chances are low that they're actually going to ask for my like the grade. That only happens if you work for like a really big, really important firm. Then I thought like I'll solve that later. But usually, like honestly, I have a team now. I don't even know what half of them studied. And I know that sounds rude, but I just don't care. So I kind of went from there. I care about the way people are, about what they can do, their experience, their skills. And I kind of went from that. I'm like, it's just a degree. They're not going to ask me like, how many points did you get on that exam? So I just need to pass the exam. So I took a lot of the pressure away. And according to the 80-20 principle is what you need in order to pass an exam is wildly different from the effort you need to get really high grades on an exam. So I took it from there. I was like, with a minimal effort, I can pass the exam, maybe. And then I would have to add a lot of extra time to get good grades, but I don't really need the good grades. So I really made all of those decisions in a logical flow. So my grades also dropped massively in my master's degree. But for a few things, they didn't. For example, for my thesis, I co-wrote that with one of my best friends, and we did a really good job there because there we went all in. So going back, paid for the notes, also accepted, obviously, that you're not going to do as good on the exam as you would have done when you're in class. But the fun thing that happened is that I started noticing, just like I saw older students in my class, like moms going back to school or whatever, people over 40 in my classes, that they were able to process information really quickly and take exams in a different way. And I was starting to get the same skill because I was working so much. Many of my classes, I could link to what I was actually doing in real life. I got a fairly analytical mindset due to combining the work and the studying at the same time. So it became easier and easier for me to process information because I wasn't just studying the entire time, but I was actually living my life and building a business. So that was good. And now I get why people who go back to school are often like so much better at it. So what happened there is, I think I laugh about the fact that I paid for those notes, but although that might make sense as a business owner today to pay someone to do something for you, as a student, that was really wild because I was gonna pay 50 euros, which was a shit ton of money, which was also a shit ton of money for someone to get for their notes that they were making anyways. And many people wouldn't be able to see past that hurdle. It's the same hurdle as deciding at a certain point in your business that you are going to for example, not just use Molly, which is like a payment system, to send people checkout links, but you're going to pay for a Shopify that is going to cost you $30 to $70 because you just cannot look past the cost. But the thing is there, not only do you need to look at the opportunity cost, like the money you're not making because you're not using it, but you should definitely look at it from a different perspective where you look at the potential return on revenue that you get by doing it, I think is a better way of approaching it. So for example, a lot of people can't see past the cost of, for example, the Shopify website, but they can't see that it's just going to make them a lot more money because people are going to have an easier way to check out. So you really need to always look at the return of your investments. And I don't want to say over-rationalize everything you buy, because sometimes people just start spending a shit ton of money and they start over-rationalizing everything in their business, like, oh, this logo is gonna make me 500 euros extra. Maybe, yeah, but when you start buying stuff, every buying decision you make is an emotional decision you're gonna just like rationalize. It is a really good call in your business to actually look at what is actually gonna get you more of what you want. Because often we just spend money on things we don't really need. And I think that goes for a lot of our personal spending as well. So I paid for those notes. What you take away from that is don't just look at the cost of things, but look at what it can bring you in the future. So the potential return on what you're spending or doing, whatever. Then obviously, a lot of the time I was in class, I was actually working. I don't really know. I think going to class, sometimes I just had these mandatory classes where I had to be present, but I would just be working in class. And then I had a few good friends who did help me out. I would go to the little shop where you could buy the recaps. I still think it's such a weird thing that exists in Antwerp. I don't know if it still exists actually, but that you could just go there to buy the notes. It's funny. It's a funny business model, because the students who would actually deliver in their notes and got picked as providing the manual for that course would get a percentage. And obviously I did that. I think that's the first time I started making affiliate income, or like a commission, because then every month I would get like 20 euros in my bank account, and that probably meant that 10 people bought my manual and I got like 10% for each time a manual was sold. I think I did it for my economy manual. Maybe some people listening had my economy manual of my business degree in Antwerp. So I got some money from that for a few years, actually. Totally forgot about that business model. So great. But I shouldn't lie. If you're wondering how to do all of this as a student, yeah, you're gonna have to give some stuff up. I didn't party a whole lot. I was a little bit of a Debbie Downer, but I didn't really have the choice because I needed to get by, and I chose for myself to take the hard way, or to follow the path not a lot of other people were following. So most people who would be in the situation I was in would have maybe cut down their classes by half, found a full-time job in the situation I was in. But I just decided the quickest way, or the best way for me to make money, is actually going to be by building my own business. I was also working somewhere else to start my business earlier on, so I could pay for courses and stuff. And I knew that it was going to cost me more in the beginning, but it was going to get me more fairly rapidly as I started getting more clients and making more money. So I gave up the partying, and I didn't see my friends a lot. But I think there's this vibe right now with millennials. I'm sorry if I'm going to offend anyone. I don't mean it that way. This is from my perspective. It doesn't have to apply to you. Because obviously, currently, like, I was doing it at a time where there wasn't a pandemic either. What I want to say is, as millennials, there's this vibe that you get to have it all at the same time. I don't necessarily believe that it all happens at the same time. I believe you can get anything you want, but maybe not all at the same time. And I made some sacrifices in order to get what I wanted long term, because for me it was really, really important. I got to create a financially stable life for myself. That future was more important to me than the partying and the getting drunk at the time of studying. And I was really fueled by ambition as well, and I surrounded myself with people who had the same vibe. So yeah, that was a lot. So then obviously I had to use some time management hacks to get ahead in school. So when I had exams, I had one day for one exam and then another exam in one day. I didn't have a lot of time. I would not start studying in chapter 1 for the exam that was tomorrow. I would always start studying in the back. So everyone started at the first chapter, and at the end of the night they would realize they didn't have time for the rest of the course. I would start where I had analyzed the bigger shot of questions on the exam was. So I knew, like, okay, everything comes together in the final chapters. I'll start there. So I've always applied the 80-20 principle to anything I did. And for example, attending the classes was the thing I needed to do, but I didn't have to pay attention in the classes to get the check that I was there. And I would just study the pieces that I had identified would have the biggest chance of being on the exam. And I think what I already touched on earlier is I did have the boundaries of when I switched in priorities. So I did decide my business is my priority and my income, but from that week to that week, school is the priority. So I would have very clear boundaries around that, and then I would implement theme days of like, then I'm studying, then I'm working one day so I can still see some clients, so I have some revenue in that month or some income, and then I go back to studying. And I would also make it clear to them that I wasn't available or something. I got really good at putting out fires really fast, but I think there weren't a lot of times where I stopped working or studying before 11 p.m. So I don't know if this made any sense, everything I've been talking about, but I think for me what just really pops up is if you want to build a big business when you have two toddlers walking around, if you want to start your own business when you're still in university, when you want to make your side hustle or turn it into a success while you're working your full-time job, or even when you just want to scale the business you currently have and take it to a new level, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not going to be easy. But that doesn't mean it can't be done. And I think that's the thing that we don't talk about enough online is it's not because it's difficult that you shouldn't do it. It's probably because it's difficult that it can be worth it. That doesn't mean it always has to be difficult. I've done so many difficult things in my life that sometimes it feels like everything is always going to be difficult. That's actually part of the mantra I tell myself, like, I'm happy, healthy, and wealthy. Life is easy. I get anything I want. In the beginning, it was, I am happy, healthy, and wealthy. I get anything I want, but I had to add in life is easy because I was so used to everything being difficult and making everything difficult. So I think that's a good tip for you. But the one thing I want you to take away from this, I'll say that at the end. First, I want to list out a few advantages because now I've painted a very dark picture. Because if you can't find anyone to pay for notes, you're fucked. No. There are many things you can do. I just wanted to switch your perspective. Yes, I did miss out on things, but I also gained a lot. I started building up my reputation of my name, my business, my brand, everything when I was only 20 years old. So normally people start working when they're 25 or something in Belgium, but I started at 20. So I had already built up a really big reputation and a network around that. I gained a lot of experience. I remember my dad telling me this, like I did the difficult phone calls with clients, the sales calls, all of the things when I was only 20 years old. So by the time other people started working and were nervous for an interview, for example, I already had thousands of hours of coaching and difficult conversations with people. So my people skills increased massively between the time I started my business and the time I wrapped up university. And overall, I do have to add that this is really weird to talk about myself like this. I've never gone in depth about all of this stuff. I got a massive head start. And yes, I gave up some things for that, but I got such a big head start. I made all of the financial mistakes in that time frame. I learned a lot financially. I learned so much about people. I built a reputation. By the time I was wrapping up university, people kept asking me, what are you going to do now you're going to have so much more free time? Where are you going to work? And I was like, I'm going to do exactly the same thing, only I'll finally have time to do it. And that's what I did. And then not long after finishing university, actually, so many people started asking me how I had built my business despite still being in university. And that's when I started business coaching because people kept asking me because I had already built the really good business by myself. I even had a physical location and everything as a fitness coach. Then fitness coaches started asking me. I started helping those fitness coaches. And then a really difficult decision for me came after a while that I had to decide, am I going to continue with fitness coaching or am I going to listen to this need of people asking me because they don't have the business savviness to use that talent to actually build a business. And I struggled with that for a long time, the switch between fitness and business. I've created other episodes about that by the way. But what I do want to say is the biggest shift for me came when my coach told me, you've always been a business coach, you just did fitness coaching for a while because you kind of also built your business that way from like the business savvy perspective. So after a while, I never consciously switched and stated out loud, I don't do fitness coaching anymore. I did tell my clients I wasn't going to do it physically anymore, but I just kind of let it die out. And for the longest time, I was like, if I could clone myself, I would do both. But in the end, I have to say, it's the human side for me that does it. It's the business side for me that does it. So it's the coaching and the business that I love. And I'm still happy every day that I get to do this. If there is one thing you take away from this episode, I'm going to tell you in a second. I just want to remind you of what I said earlier. If you are struggling with your time management right now, you want to plan your ideal week, you want to gain more clarity in how to run the different things you're doing, go and grab my time workbook that you can print out. So it's linked in the description. We're going to help you with your planning and your productivity. And the link is fastforwardamy.com/time workbook. So if there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's that you need to choose a priority. And what I want to teach you about that is difficult. Amy, choose a priority to talk in this episode. Okay, so when you are starting out your business, when you are growing your business, you're going to get to a point where people are going to ask you to do stuff, to work with them, to do a collab on things. And in the beginning, you might have had nothing to do, and they are going to get really distracted because there's going to be so much to do. And that means you're going to get distracted from the path you had actually initially set out for yourself because you might not remember. And in order to then keep growing, you are going to have a commander's intent. You're going to have a priority. And for me, at a certain point, that became building my online business. So I had so many people coming up to me that they wanted to work with me, but I just already had a full client roster of over 30 hours of coaching a week. So I couldn't see them anymore, and I knew that if I would add them to my roster, I would start burning out. So I knew I had to say no, but people were really like, they didn't understand. They were like, why won't you take me on? I'll pay you and blah, blah. And I was like, no, I don't have the time. And then someone else asked me, hey, won't you run like an evening and a day of my fitness business for me? Won't you come in? And I was super flattered. And I almost let my ego take those decisions. But just in time before I started accepting those offers, I went back and told myself, what is it that I really want? Because I just felt my boundaries getting trampled. And I just come out of this entire period, or I was still in school at that point actually, where I already felt like I was trampling my own boundaries. So I sat down and did this exercise about the commander's intent because I read it in a book. I want to say it's the Make Your Bed book, but I'm not sure. And the commander's intent is that you state one intent that you then use to solve all of your solutions. So it's basically like in the United States, in the army, I think I'm probably telling this story entirely wrong, but I'm still going to tell it. So in the army, they have this thing where they teach everyone top to bottom, eliminate all terrorism. So what you want to accomplish is that people out on the field won't have to literally in the heat of fire call their superior to be like, hey, should I save the mom falling down there with 2 kids or should I shoot the terrorists, basically. They don't have time to take up the phone and make a call. So they have to know in a difficult decision, which one do you choose? They have to take out the terrorists in that moment. You need to figure out what your commander's intent is. And for me, at a certain point, when I decided I'm going to go all in on my own business, I can't take on more clients. Also, it's not my end goal to have a physical business. I want to build a scalable online business where I can impact many, many more people. I had to decide that building my online business, growing my online business became my commander's intent. So people came up to me for more in-person consults. Nope, because it's not going to be growing my online business. You want me to run your fitness facility? Nope, because it's not going to help me grow my online business. So offline people, no, because the online thing wasn't touched. You want to hire me to grow your business? No, because I want to grow my business. So create a commander's intent for yourself, so that you get to make these decisions. And that's the thing that I did earlier on as well, where I decided growing my business is my priority and not going to school. Getting the degree was a second priority, but not actually going to school was a priority or doing well on the exams. I just needed the degree. So I hope some of these things triggered some things for you. I hope no one hates me after this episode. Would love to see you again here on the Fast Forward Amy Show. I don't know why it is that makes me uncomfortable to talk about this shit. I guess it feels like back then, and sometimes still now, I felt like I was always letting someone down. At school, I couldn't talk about my business too much because people at school would feel really weird about the fact that while they were all studying full-time, I was doing an entirely different thing at the same time. To my clients, I couldn't talk about the school stress because I never wanted to make them feel that I wasn't focused on them. So I always felt like I needed to hide a part of who I was in order to achieve my success. And I think talking about this right now triggered that, because I feel like I'm not allowed to be proud of how I did that. But you know what? I'm really proud, and despite everything that it cost me, it gave me so much, and it gave me the opportunity to now at 28 have two thriving businesses, have people to work with who are amazing, have hundreds of active clients in my Business Freedom Elevator, in my Boss Up Mentorship program, and I am very proud of past Amy that she put in the hard work, because we are living in this society where sometimes, like, don't work too hard, but work hard enough. Take it easy, but don't take it too easy. Like, you can never win. I am grateful that past Amy did that work so I could get to where I am today. Without those years and years of hard work, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be able to hire other people, to be able to provide for other families, to coach so many amazing clients. So I'm grateful, I'm proud of myself, and I hope that you take from this that you can make yourself proud too. Don't hide yourself. Don't hide from your dreams, and know that now is just as good a time to start as in 5 years. It's better to start now and to not wait, because you might not succeed all of a sudden. I get this question a lot, like, how did you stay focused on the big goal? I didn't know then that I would be living in this house now, or what my team was going to look like. I was always just focused on the next step and kept redirecting that vision with the commander's intent. So please don't hold yourself back. Please don't wait for the perfect time. Do it now, start now, and start gaining experience. And if you want my help in doing that, come and sign up for my Business Freedom Elevator program, because obviously that is exactly what I'm going to be doing with you. So many people wait to sign up because they feel like, Amy, it's not perfect enough just yet. I'm going to wait until I have everything figured out. But you're never going to have it all figured out. I don't have it all figured out. But it's by doing, by learning, by surrounding yourself with like-minded people, with a great coach as well, that you're gonna figure out more and more what it is that you want, and you're gonna grow yourself and your business. So if you're interested in getting coached by me, come and sign up for the Business Freedom Elevator through fastforwardamy.com/elevator.